I'm doing pretty good.
Your Christmas card was pretty, thank you. Yeah, I always do when I come in, that's the first place I go. I got all that was in there Sunday, and there was 3 in there tonight. Yeah, today's the 14th, right? 15. 10 more days is Christmas, yeah. Christmas is on Sunday this year.
It is? Christmas is on Sunday. I was thinking it was like Friday.
I think it's Saturday, yeah.
Saturday, okay. Yeah, 'cause Christmas Eve is Friday. Okay. Oh. Ooh. Yeah, this is. I was going to say, this is late enough. I may just skip the slides part and spend time in prayer because we're halfway through the time anyway. A prayer request that I think is pretty important. See if you guys have heard about it. Or have any of you heard about the problem that we're having at the landfill, the Bristol landfill? Cindy was sharing with me today. Didn't any of you see the movie with Julia Robertson and Aaron Brockovich? You know who I'm talking about? Well, have you seen the letter? A 21-year-old who lives near the landfill actually wrote her, and she wrote her back and actually did a piece on Bristol. And Cindy was reading to me the letter today. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. And so, I mean, this thing is serious, guys. And from what Cindy was telling me when she checked this thing out, we get this, it's kind of like a local neighborhood newsletter in our neighborhood. And There's people been getting sick, and actually sounds like throwing up blood and everything else from this thing.
People had to leave their homes.
I wouldn't doubt it. And evidently, this thing's gotten to the point where Bristol, Tennessee has sued Bristol, Virginia over it. And there's this, big skirmish over it. And they said they can't do anything about it because it would cost $30 million to close the landfill, and the city of Bristol, Virginia is broke. They don't have anything. I don't know. And here's the thing that got me, according to this article where this information that Cindy was telling me she read, the neighborhood thing, we are letting other cities dump their waste in our landfill. New York, California. Why would we let other cities dump stuff in our landfill? So I can't figure that one out.
I don't think that's kind of a standard procedure across the country, but
Yeah,
I
I've
know,
been York trash to Kentucky before.
I know someone that's on the EPA, and the person's having a hard time getting to sleep at night because somebody published their phone, and they call this person all the time during the night about the landfill, and you can't get anything done about it.
What do you do with something like that? I don't understand how. Seems like the obvious thing would be the state would step in, wouldn't you think?
People are getting sick and running blood. It sounds like to me it'd be a national thing. Somebody should do something about it.
Federal EPA.
I don't know. I don't live in Virginia, and I can't keep up with it, but there's so much underlying stuff we probably don't really know.
Where is that landfill?
Do you know where King Mill Pike is?
Yes.
It's on the corner of East Valley and King Mill Pike. It's back in there.
Even where a net works, a lot of times they're having trouble breathing right down there. Sometimes I get it in my house.
So let me ask about that, because I know it from the Virginia side. So evidently it backs up to the Tennessee line,
Tiffany's been telling me that when she
the
comes
landfill.
in at night, she smells something. I don't smell it, but she says she smells it. And she says she thinks it's coming from the landfill.
Right.
And I live in Tennessee.
Well, and like I said, I've heard some people in Tennessee have been sick, and as a matter of fact, it sounds like. See, I don't know. I've been in that landfill, but I have no idea how big it is or how far back it goes, and I don't have any clue. And then I've been hearing people on the Tennessee side, and it sounds like it's not that far from you on the Tennessee side, Joyce.
It's not that far.
I don't know if that's the back end of it, I suppose, that comes up against.
It might be, but I told her I didn't smell anything. She said, Mom, you need to have your nose examined.
Well, occasionally we have smelled, not in our home, but coming home, we've smelled it right at the underpass of 81. It smelled like trash. So I'm assuming that's the same thing, but I'm not saying it's been a problem for us personally.
It probably, according to how the wind goes or whatever, where the odor goes, the Kingsway Pike goes back this way, Tennessee comes back up that way. And like I said, the net them how I've had some people complaining down there about their breathing and stuff. Sometimes, not all the time. But in our house, we got to check in our garage, see if we had something. Turned out to be that, I guess. Here one day, it's gone.
Well, I'm not sure what we as a church can do. it bothered me. I mean, obviously I'm thinking, when something's affecting the community's health, people's health, something certainly should be done, and there ought to be some kind of accountability. Um,
I don't know who you would go talk to anybody about it.
I'm sure they already got,
oh yeah.
Well, I'm sure the city is trying to do something about it, but, just anything anymore is such a process,
Well, I'm just
Just
wondering,
that.
I told Cindy what I was wondering is, man, if we've got poison in there, the first thing you got to do is stop letting people from outside our community dump stuff in our landfill. I mean, I don't know if that's the cause of what's going on, but they've got to figure out somehow I mean, you need to protect the people of your community above everything else.
I guess my first question would be, why would you have such a thing as that close to a residential neighborhood? I don't know. I don't know how long it's been there or what. But, I've read about landfills and dumps before in other areas, but I couldn't tell you anything.
Well, it really concerned me when she was, in this article. I need to see from Cindy if I can find out more about it. If anybody's interested, I'll pass it on to you. But I mean, she had wrote Erin Brockovich, and she wrote her back and I don't know if she had interviewed some people here or what, but it definitely talked about some pretty serious issues with people getting sick and stuff that she had discovered, and had mentioned, that our area has a lot of poverty, and often people are impacted who are, on that scale.
I'm sure the authorities are trying to do as much as they can, because if people are getting sick, that's gonna bring lawsuits. So I'm sure they're concerned about it, trying to get something done, but I don't have a clue.
Tim was telling us about it when he worked there, having some issues.
How close is he to it?
Well, he was telling us he worked at the landfill.
Oh, he worked at the landfill. Oh, Tim Weiss.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking your
Not my
son,
son.
Tim. Yeah. Okay. What did he say about it?
He was telling us one morning at the prayer meeting,
Oh, must have been La La Land or
they
something.
were talking about the smell, and he said, yeah, there was issues when he was there.
We've been gone from Bellhaven for 5 years. It evidently is something that has just started in the last couple of years, because we didn't ever have that problem, did we? And we, were right over from it in Bellhaven.
Well, I haven't really even heard anything about it. Maybe the last 2 years at all, and
We had Floyd Tennessee, Shanksville Road in Tennessee. It didn't count toward us.
so that also makes me wonder, are we bringing something into the landfill that wasn't there before? I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to solve by telling you all this stuff, but it really, I got to thinking about that, and it's very concerning.
Even with all the regulations and stuff, they had lead in the water in that town in Michigan, and
Yeah.
they can just about get anything past us anymore, because they don't tell us what's going on. Nobody, the upper people never tell us what's going on, so I'm not sure what we can do about it either, other than stand firm with whoever's fighting.
Well, anyway, that was one thing that was definitely on my heart tonight as I thought about praying. I mean, obviously, you want to do something with hands-on. I'm not sure what you do with something like that. Like you said, that town in Michigan, that's been going on for a long time with the water. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. That's right, Flint, Michigan.
There's quite a few signs on the Tennessee side about the landfill, residential areas, so undoubtedly it's affected a lot of people.
So remember that. And You know, I told the guys this morning in our prayer group, Cindy's dad, of course I've told y'all he's 90 years old, and he's really lonely. And he called and told Cindy last night. He said, I don't hear enough from you guys. I'm afraid nobody will find me if I die. And so, of course that upset us too, but, try to do a better job of contacting him. And then Jeff Wendell's mom, Jeff was telling me, that she's been lonely, and those programs that we sent her, she reads them every day. And as a matter of fact, of course, Jeff's, he's such a nut anyway, but he said, she's even been like watching the services and stuff, and she's calling you her TV preacher. So laughing about that, but the point is, there's a lot of people out there that are lonely, and we don't even recognize it, yeah. And so anyway, he had asked, and David, I didn't even mention anything this morning, if we could do another program for her sometime soon. I mean, since she's reading these things every day, it's obviously ministered to her. Yeah, something to help her. So, and it's funny because sometimes you don't realize how something so small could mean so much to somebody.
Better do it for Cindy's dad, too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't know. He'd love to find him a woman, but I think they're a little harder to find at 90. I don't know. Well, what's funny is he had him a girlfriend, but he's a type A personality, and not everybody can handle that, He's got to be in control of everything, and it takes the right personality, I think, for that. And with and I'm just talking out loud, I don't know, and of course with all this COVID stuff, I'm sure, well, you can imagine, I mean, the elderly, I guess they've been like in concentration camps, stuck in their home, because what are they going to do,
My mom married 2 husbands, and she was 86 and dating a guy. And she said, man, those women at the rest home circle him like cousins.
Hey, you laugh, but a few years ago, Cindy was working. She had this part-time job. Some things she was doing, she'd go into the nursing homes and help people with mental illness issues. She said, you would not believe some of the stuff that goes on in these nursing homes. It's crazy. I mean, you don't think about that, but it's some crazy stuff in there. But anyway, that's about all I got to say about that, right? But I mean, so remember then. And I called Judy to check on her, and her sister is there with her, and her sister means well, but I think Judy may be taking care of her as much as she's taking care of Judy. And she fell, her sister fell, and she sat down in a chair, and the chair broke, and just, bless her heart. I called Judy just to check on her this morning. She sat down in the chair broke. We thought, oh no, we're going to have to take you to the hospital, and we didn't. But she said then the fire alarm, or the smoke alarm wouldn't go off. It started going. So it was a rough morning for her. So anyway, and knowing what people have to put up with or deal with.
Kathy's daughter's husband's grandfather died.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they're home now. They were headed home. Stephanie and Austin.
Right.
And my aunt that we did a program for that found out she had pancreatic cancer day before yesterday, instead of 6 months, she's got 6 weeks. So it's not looking good for her. I mean, it is, she's in a win-win situation because she knows Jesus, but, and that's how she's handling it. She's doing very well. I hate it for her kids. It'll be hard for them.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to remember them. And, just remember, just remember the church as we got this business meeting coming up Monday, and we've got several things that we're, talking about being interested in doing. And one thing, try to do a much better job of communicating when we have that, is these life groups. People understand from this trial period, we're going to have these groups, and instead of what we're doing now, so we won't have normal Wednesday night and Sunday night like we've been doing for this period, and meeting in homes and trying to explain that issue, trying to get some more involvement and some people more active, hopefully. So that's kind of the goal with that. And then, we talked the other night for a while about the opportunity of this playground. And it got bigger the more was researched, and a lot of work. But, I think a good opportunity. But just praying about that. We want to do stuff, but we don't want to just do stuff. We want to do the right stuff. So we need to keep all of that in prayer, obviously, in ways we're trying to go. It's hard. You don't do stuff to get or build stuff thinking that's going to get the people here. But if you don't have a place that's welcoming to people, then you also look like you don't want them here. So, I guess there's always somewhat of a battle with those issues. But anyway, man, all that's a big concern of prayer. And I was going to share tonight in this one prayer. It was funny. I'll just share this one thing instead of going through the whole message. But I was trying to think what to get out of this thing. And this thing is just the start of Judges. Is where this prayer is. And the time of Judges, Moses is kicked off already. Joshua's kicked off. But there's no mention of Joshua having an apprentice. Moses' apprentice was Joshua, so everybody, I'm sure, had a good idea. Well, we know the man. This is the man we're going to run to. But when Joshua died, there was no apprentice. The scriptures doesn't talk about somebody waiting in the wings. So they didn't have a clear, obvious leader to run to. And because of that, as you can see on this slide here, people were grieving. They were missing the past. They were missing the good old days when we had the leader and God was speaking to him, and we knew what to do because he would tell us what to do because God told him what to do. So now they got to figure out what we're going to do with somebody not telling us what to do. They were unsure what to do. So anyway, I'll give you the very short thing of this thing. But as you go through the scriptures, it's kind of interesting. And I'm doing this without slides real quick. But God didn't call one leader. He called a tribe. He called the whole tribe of Judah. He said the next move in victory, the tribe of Judah is going to lead. Not one dynamic personality with charisma, but we're going to call the whole tribe. And before that tribe took off to work, do you know what they did? They got some help from another tribe. So even though it wasn't one, it was a group of leaders within the tribe of Judah. They came, they prayed, they said we're ready to go, but they saw how vast the issue was as they wanted to march out in obedience to God and take the territory that God wanted them to have. It was still too big for them, so they enlisted the tribe of the Simeonites to come along beside them. And they said, okay, guys, here's how it's going to be. He says, you help us in our territory, and once we do our job, we're going to go to your territory, and we're going to march on. And so, anyway, with all the, it was funny because last night I was thinking about that stuff with Dad, Cindy's dad, and I was just thinking about all this church stuff because, man, anytime you try to follow God and it's not what we're used to, there's bumps in the road. And people sometimes we all are not happy when things are not familiar, because when things aren't familiar, we get insecure. And, just like the judges were insecure. And, what I realized as I went down through this thing, judges weren't like kings. The kings were the gods with the charisma, they were taking off. But the judges, God chose for a specific time, for a specific purpose, and then they kind of faded in the background. They didn't stay in the limelight. But they were used for a specific time and specific purpose. And as I was going to share in this message, as I went through it in the scriptures, maybe God has a series of judges around here. Maybe as we move forward to where He wants us to go, it's not going to be one specific person with charisma, but maybe it's, the word judges, it literally means out of the Hebrew, a heroic leader. And so maybe God will let this one play hero ball a while, and then this one gets a chance to play hero ball. But together, it's the team, moving in obedience to what God wants to do. And, I thought it was interesting, too, as I went through this thing. Man, it describes their victory. They took off, and it was victory after victory, but it was not sanitized, and it was not politically correct. It was a mess. It was a mess. And, ministry's messy because people are messy. And, they marched on in victory, but there was blood, and there was tears, and there were tough fights. And I'm not saying with among themselves as they were marching against the obstacles in the way of achieving God's purpose, what God wanted to do. So anyway, that's, the 5-minute summary of this thing. But I'm just asking, as we spend a couple minutes praying tonight, just pray that God will move among us as we try to step out in faith and do some things that, are not familiar to us, that we'll march out in faith, and that God will give us some wisdom in trying to communicate and help each other and to stay on target. While we're here, we're here for a purpose, because we're not home because there's people that need us. That's kind of really what the gospel's about. There's people that need us, and we're still here, and, God's called us, but there's still some other people He wants to bring.
Who's the young couple that's been coming the last couple of weeks?
Larry Begley and his wife, Emily.
That was encouraging.
Yeah, it is encouraging.
Larry came here as a child, a church band. He is Cindy Gray's nephew.
He's talking like they're planning on being regulars.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, he told us that.
They all came here. Their grandmother raised them.
Tell you, because you don't know this well. You want to tell him, Roy, the story? Because he doesn't know the story.
This church pretty much got those guys, and Larry is really the only one that's really to accomplish much. And I can tell you, used to bowl with all those guys for 2 or 3 years. Me and my son paid for him to bowl for 2 or 3 years. two young people, their mannerisms, there's something there. They care about each other.
We need to go out of our way when
Huh?
young people come like that, we need to go out of our way to make sure we welcome them and talk to them and get to know them. I know you have history with them, but I didn't know them from the man in the moon, but I was on them like a fly on something. Just
Well,
because
I
it's,
talked to him
Right.
Sunday. We were in the, hall down there and we stopped and talked. And I asked him if he was doing all right and he said, well, I'm trying. And, I said, well, is there anything I can do for you? He said, just pray. He said, that's all we need is just prayer.
he may have some influence on reaching the other ones to get them back too.
They've got a sister's got 3 children, or 2 children, that comes back and forth with Cindy some days. I think she does pretty well. Her husband's in the military.
Yeah, they live in Colorado. She's back here now. Oh, is she back?
But you know,
It's
those,
tough family history, but Larry has definitely broke the chain.
those kids, when they were here, Annette taught all of them at one point, basically. And one day, one of them was going out the front door. And he come up to Annette, he said, you know something? He said, I love you. You talk about a 13, 14-year-old boy telling somebody that, there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never got finished.
No, in a lot of ways, and the church really played a big role in raising them as they grew up. Robert Gilmer would take the boys to get haircuts. I mean, there were different things people would do, and it was a lot of different people. It wasn't just
On a mission trip.
one or two.
Larry.
And so, I mean, there's definitely been some seeds sown, should be, because they've been loved by a lot of people. Like I said, it wasn't just 1 or 2 people here. And Larry's definitely been the one who has, I guess, been the most stable. It's a good way to put it.
I don't know how he ever got through college. Car break down, tore up, didn't have a car.
And, you know, I mean, we just keep plugging along here. Thomas has been trying to get his brother to come, so they've got a baby and his wife. So, I mean, you know, we just, you know, when you don't have many, every one you have matters. And then before you know it, once you have a few, you can get a few more.
Yep.
So, well, look, I know it's kind of late. I'm going to spend a little bit of time praying. So, I'm just going to, I'll ask Scott if he'll open and I'll close, if you don't mind.
Father, thank you that you love each of